Over the last 12 months or so, we've been using the flagship OPPO Find X9 Pro, and it's been an incredible phone for everything like photos and videos, battery life, general performance, and build quality has been amazing, and we've had no problems with it at all. And we got to thinking maybe about 3 or so months ago, what's the next iteration of this phone? Because that flagship was pretty close to being flawless for us. Well, here it is, and it's this OPPO Find X9 Pro. Now this, in our opinion, is the greatest flagship you can buy right now for a whole host of reasons, because you get a massive 7500 mAh battery. You also get an all-new camera system, all-new design, insane performance, and a near borderless display. So throughout this review, we're going to break down exactly why the X9 Pro is the best flagship you can buy right now in 2025 and will be for the majority of 2026. On the design front, there's a huge switch up of the X9 Pro versus the X8 Pro, primarily because this now has an all flat display versus the quad curved on the X8 Pro. And there is a whole host of other changes, including the rear camera housing. Some would say it's a bit more sedate, a bit more mass market, but I quite like the changes because how often do you look at the back of your phone? There's other key components here that we need to talk about, and that's linking to the display. It is now a flat display, of course, with 6.78 inches, 1.5K resolution, 120 Hz, 3600 nits of peak brightness, and all that is pretty much exactly the same as last year. What's not the same is the border thinness is now down to just 1.15 millimeters. So this is an insanely thin border, and it looks incredible. In terms of watching any content on here, you're going to get stunning vibrancy, really punchy colors, and excellent contrast as well, and it makes an incredibly good viewing experience. Other thing to note though, which is a very big welcome change, we didn't really find a problem with the X8 Pro, but it's even better than the X9 Pro, is the fact that this now has an ultrasonic fingerprint sensor, not an optical. I always get the two confused. Ultrasonic, not optical, and that does make it a bit more responsive and a bit more reliable. One of the other changes with the X9 Pro versus the X8 Pro is its speaker output, because on here, the X9 Pro, it sounds a lot more bassy and punchy. The engine that lives inside this frame of the X9 Pro is the Dimensity 9500 and is built on a 3nm processor. Now on the face of it, if you compare this to the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, it actually is on par with it, and in fact beats it to some extent in GPU raw performance. If you then compare it to the A19 Pro from Apple, again, it performs equally, if not slightly behind. So this is a significant jump in performance. And generally speaking, Android CPUs have always been slightly or more or so behind the Apple equivalent. Now it's on the same level, or to some extent even better. Now the battery performance, difficult for us to be able to test this in a real world environment, but we're going to borrow something from PhoneBuff here, which gives you an idea as to just how insane the battery life is on the X9 Pro, and it's absolutely incredible. If we then look at benchmarks through 3D Mark's Lifestyle Extreme testing, you do get some interesting results. Now, in our testing, we didn't get as much throttling as what's been reported in a lot of places when it comes to the Dimensity 9500. In fact, stability was at 75%, so a drop off of roughly 25% in terms of throttling, and then temperature and battery all sit below those double digits, which, to be fair, is significantly better than the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max that we recently reviewed that had a Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 inside. The battery within this phone is a 7500 mAh with it being silicon carbon and 80 watts wired, 50 watts wireless. So recharging this is super quick, be it wireless or wired. One of the main allures of any flagship bleeding edge tech phone is its CPU, and that Dimensity 9500, as we've seen already, is a performance monster, especially when it comes to managing its thermals to some extent, as well as how it manages the operations of this OS and the whole thing with the phone. But one key thing is when you're gaming on this phone, you're going to get some super sick detail and graphics. So graphically, it looks incredible, very detailed and fully maxed out on Call of Duty Mobile with over 80 plus frames per second that we saw. Sometimes it felt even higher than that, but the performance as a whole was absolutely incredible. And gaming on this phone again is a pleasure basically. I think the fact that it's gone flat all over does make it easier to hold, use and operate and get the best performance when you're gaming on your X9 Pro. Last year, the OPPO Find X8 Pro delivered quad 50 megapixel cameras. On the X9 Pro though, you do actually lose a lens. It's actually triple cameras. You get a 50 megapixel wide, 50 megapixel ultra wide and a 200 megapixel telephoto periscope. Now on the face of it, that may be a downgrade, but when we reviewed the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max, we thought that was a camera system that truly blew us away. But then we started using this over the last few weeks and we kind of take that back, because let's break down all those lenses individually in detail. The main 50 megapixel wide is at 23 millimeters. Now the main lens here captures stunning images with really good dynamic range being excellent, and it is a nice balanced contrast here as well, and its color balance is excellent with the exact right balance between vibrancy and it not looking overly sharpened and contrasty. There's literally no noise here at any point. Low light images again produced very similarly impressive results as the main lens in daylight, and there's no real noise here, although some may argue that does blow out slightly brighter areas a bit too much. That isn't the biggest thing to say, but it's a possibility. Overall lenses day and night are very, very impressive. If we move over to the 50 megapixel ultra wide, which does have the 120 degree field of view and it's at 50 millimeters, this again is the really, really good performer. To be fair, similar to the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max, nothing that will ever blow you away in terms of its performance, but does a good job in terms of colors and dynamic range. Again, very, very useful. One thing I would say is I never use the ultra wide on my lenses ever. It's always the main or the periscope, never the ultra wide. Then the highlight of the whole thing and the star of the show is that 200 megapixel periscope telephoto at 70 millimeters. Now this could well be the best periscope we've ever used on a phone, because as you move up the focal ranges, it maintains that quality even up to 60x, which is insane. Quality is really, really good, captures tons of detail, be it day or nighttime photography, and everything looks really, really good. And processing, I think, is one of the big changes between the X9 Pro and X8 Pro, is they don't look overly processed, still retaining a lot of the detail, contrast and colors, which is sick. Video output can be as great as 4K 120, which looks creamy, butter smooth, and looks really, really good. The most commonly we've used is the 4K 30, which again looks really good, well balanced and offers stabilization as well, which again looks really good. Panning, zooming, etc. all looks very, very well, super usable. One other thing to note on a camera is that you can force higher image sizes on the actual in its settings. So by standard, it will be at 12 megapixel. You can force it to higher to take 50 megapixel, or what OPPO will do with its own algorithm is it goes from 12 to 50 based on varying conditions, which you can see in some of the image sizes here. Similar conditions, some of these are like quite normal image sizes in terms of file sizes, some most double or triple what you'd normally expect. But the camera system on the X9 Pro is insane. The OPPO Find X9 Pro launches with Android 16 and ColorOS 16 out of box. And I'm gonna get my first annoyance out of the way right at the start. And that is, this is very much a clone, tribute, flattering as it may be, to Apple's liquid glass iOS. It doesn't look as glassy or as transparent as that does, but they've taken things from that OS and the worst components in my opinion and implemented it here. Things like app library, or as it's called, categories on here, lives. And what you can do here though is you can resize, you can move these folders around to kind of adapt it to your own. I will never ever use categories because I don't see the point. It just seems like an extension of your app drawer. It doesn't make any sense at all, and most of the time it's wrong as well. In terms of OS itself, it runs very smooth. No issues here with any slowdowns or drop-offs. Again, a lot of that is led to the optimization of the CPU in line with the OS, and you get tons of really great features. Things like being able to open and close the app really quickly, multitasking, multi-window, all works super smooth. ColorOS 16 is more of a refinement and a look, versus ColorOS 15 is not a major change. A couple of things to look at though, you do get the pill cutout at the top, which you can then switch between things like Spotify and Timer, for example. And again, a lot of that is borrowed from iOS. Now, some of the AI features that you come to expect still live on here, and there's no real massive change. One thing I would say that's come onto here is the ability to use mind space. You can map that to this button here on the side. We would never use it, but you can use Mindspace here to kind of record all your thoughts, emotions, feelings, or capture information, voice notes, etc. You can do all that here. One of the cooler OS 16 features is, of course, AI Toolbox. If you swipe up from the right, this will then adapt to depending where you are in your environment. So if you're browsing an article online, you can swipe across to this, and then you can use the toolbox to do something like a summarization or read it out loud. You still get all the other great AI features, things like AI Razor, AI Perfect Shot, and then a dedicated AI Studio app, which will use a variety of different tools to generate an image of your likeness. And embarrassingly, this is me as, I don't know, maybe like a Mars-esque superhero, but it looks awful. Generally, the OS as a whole, in line with the CPU and the display and everything as well, works incredibly well, is very, very impressive. The only downside, I would say, is the blatant copying to an extent of iOS 26. So the OPPO Find X9 Pro is a significant change to the X8 Pro from last year and gives you an idea of what to expect coming into the back end of 2025 into 2026, because most of the phones you're going to see coming out will have insane battery life. What makes the X9 Pro stand out is it has the insane battery life, amazing build quality, razor thin edges in terms of those borders being super, super thin, and an incredible camera system. This will be our new daily driver for 2025 ending and 2026. And let us know in the comment section your thoughts on the Find X9 Pro. Is this the flagship phone to buy in 2025 and 2026, or is it another phone, things like the Vivo X300 Pro or the Ultra series that's due to come out, or is it the S26? Let us know in the comment section below. But for sure, this is our new flagship that we're rocking every single day, and I'm super, super impressed by this OPPO Find X9 Pro. Until the next one, as always, we are.